Hey everyone, and welcome to John Talks Indian Cinema. I am your host, the Indian Cine-MANIAC, as the neon sign says, with another 10ish minute review. Before we get to the review, you know the drill. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button. And if you like the video, please share so we can build the Maniac community. As I keep saying, I'm getting a lot of views, not getting a lot of likes. I'm not getting a lot of love out there, okay? I don't know why. You know, some of you comment, but you don't like. You got to like. I'm trying. I'm really working hard to monetize this a way where I can actually make a little bit of money. Nothing crazy, just enough to pay some expenses, and I need your help with that. So please, please, doesn't mean a lot to you, means tons to the channel. So please do that. Okay, so now the film I'm going to review, and I got to tell you something. This was a tough one, and I don't mean tough as in it was bad. It was a hard watch. I got to tell you, this was recommended by, again, a relatively new maniac at Udinath 5272. And he actually gave me like five different films. And I said, well, okay, 90s cinema, 90s Indian cinema. Because you guys know, I'm not even going to put up the disclaimer for this one because this one could have been made in any era, not the 90s. It did not look like a 90s Indian film. So he gave me the list and I said, well, pick one and I'll watch it. And he picked 1994's Bandit Queen. It's directed by Shekhar Kapur. It stars Seema Biswas, who was in The Family Man, in a very courageous performance, I have to say. Nirmal Pandey, Rajesh Vivek, who was in Lagaan, Agneepath, and Swades, Manoj Bajpayee, who was in Gangs of Wasseypur and The Family Man. Now, this was based on a real person, and she was an Indian dacoit, I think is how you pronounce it, which is bandit, of the Mala subclass. And her name was Phoolan Devi. And there's a quote at the beginning of the film, and what? Okay, so the story. The story is about a young girl, Phoolan, who is abused for most of her life, starting at age 12. And it's her journey from basically being raped at 12 and continually raped to the point where she becomes a bandit, almost like a Robin Hood, and also ends up in, I don't know, is it she ends up not in Parliament, yeah, a member of Parliament in 1996. And it is a now Udanath. You might not know this about me, but this is not the type of film that I would seek out. I love the films because I want to be entertained. Um, Now I am not teeing up that I didn't like this film. Far from it. It's just it was so relentlessly depressing for most of the film because of what happened to this poor woman. It's just it's raw, it's graphic, like especially for Hindi films. It's really graphic. What they do to this poor woman is just, and you know, when I say graphic, graphic for a Hindi film. But I can only imagine how graphic it must have been to the Hindi audiences. So, I mean, it sets the tone right away. Um, that her parents sell her off to a older guy for a bicycle and a cow, I think, and she was 11. So she's an 11-year-old bride, and she ends up being his slave basically, till at one point he finally wants to have sex with her, and it's a horrific scene. I mean, it's just the way they shoot it, and her screaming is awful. But you find out pretty quickly that even though as horrific as that is, she's one tough cookie. In fact, I've never heard this before. She didn't say mother effer, she said sister effers, which was funny. Oh, by the way, Devi is also known as Dasyu Sundari, or the beautiful bandit. And what I mean by um, her character at a young age, at one point, the husband slaps her, and she doesn't cry; she just stares at him. So right away, you know something's going on there. Um, and after he rapes her, she runs away, goes back to the village, but the parents don't want anything to do with her. And they always refer to her as a low caste. I'm going to use their language, not mine. They refer to her as a low caste bitch, as they try to rape her when she goes back to the village. Now they bring her to the village and they're blaming her. They believe the guys. So now she ends up going to live with a cousin. And she ends up getting arrested and gang raped by the cops. Okay, so this is all very young. Now she flash forwards to 1999, and a gang shows up and takes her away because they're going to have their way with her. Well, one guy's a little sympathetic to her, and that's Vikram. And again, just a horrible scene. They're in the mountains, and the boss of the gang is raping her. And Vikram comes over with a gun and just shoots the guy because he's disrespecting the woman. Now that's a whole love story that happens too, and that was interesting because when they have mutual consensual sex, she is the aggressor. And you would think and again, that tells you something about her character with everything she's been through. She's still the aggressor. And obviously, that's a wall of protection, I guess. So now Vikram takes her under his wing and teaches her how to shoot. And then there's another big boss who got put in jail who comes out and wants her and ends up shooting Vikram. Although they don't tell you who did it, but you assume it's the boss and his gang. They were by the water. All of a sudden, bullet hits him in the leg. Now she takes him and hides away somewhere so the boss can't get to him and gets him back to health. And the boss is looking for them, right? So now her and Vikram are hiding in the mountains because the boss found out where they were. Someone ratted them out. And they're just sitting there talking. All of a sudden, boom, Vikram gets a bullet right through the head. Now the big boss captures her. And this is what happened for 3 days. They gang raped this woman, one after another after another. And that's what I mean about it. It was like a car accident. You're disgusted, but you can't take your eyes off it. And that's kind of how I felt. It was repulsive, but I couldn't stop watching it. And well, I'll get to performances in a minute. Um, and then what they do is they strip her naked and parade her through the village for final humiliation. And that was graphic too. I don't think I've seen that in any Indian films I've seen. She was naked, just covering up her breast, but she was naked. She finds her cousin again, who she lived with before, who helps her out again. Um, Now, I also read I did research on this woman afterwards because I wanted a little more about her. Apparently, her cousin raped her too, or I shouldn't say that, had an affair with her. And that's why the cousin's wife ultimately kicked her out. So that's not fair to say it was rape because she stayed there. I don't know. It seemed the way they described it seemed consensual. Not right, but consensual. So she ends up with the Thakur clan. And they give her her first gang. And she does things pretty bold and starts to get a reputation. And at one point, the men who raped or gang raped her. They bring them all. They go back to the village. She executes all of them. Now, historically, they say that although she probably gave the order, she was not present when it happened. In this film, she's present, and that was pretty horrific. So you're rooting for someone who murdered. How many were there? That doesn't say the number. Um, but it was I was at least 12. So now they want her, right? They want her, but she's become such a hero to everybody that if she surrenders, they won't hang her and they'll negotiate with her, which she does. And when she finally turns herself in, it's a massive scene. It's pretty cool, actually. And then she gets elected to Parliament in '96. Um, and she ended up being assassinated in 2001 by Sher Singh Rana, and she was only 37 years old. So all this happened to her up until she was 37. So the story, I'm going to give a five. I thought the story was compelling. It was repulsive. It was very hard to watch, but it was an amazing story about an amazing woman who somehow overcame. I can't even I can't even fathom. Um, Now, the real person did not approve of this story the way it was told. She said a lot of it was not real. It was based on her diary that she wrote while she was in jail, but she wasn't happy about it. They had some kind of settlement when so she wouldn't fight it. Um, so the performances, look, I say this a lot, but the performances was a five because of her. Um, it was an amazing performance. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It was just even the little girl who played her at a young age was really good. She wasn't in it much, but to show the kind of emotion she showed and what she went through was pretty incredible. But this actress who, like I said, I've seen her in The Family Man, but we're talking, 30, 35 years after this movie. Um, Seema Seema oh God, John. Biswas, Seema Biswas. She was incredible. It was just it was just an amazing performance. The emotions, the oh God, when things were happening to her, and they shot it in a way that most of the time all they did was focus on her face, and her face told you everything that was happening. And it was brutal. It was brutal. So again, performances of five. Um, there was not a lot of songs in this, and this is not a movie where there should be. There's incidental music, which I thought was good, but this movie, you do not want them breaking out in a musical number in this movie. It would have been totally inappropriate. It would have absolutely destroyed the flow of this film and the message of this film. So because of that, I give it a three. Didn't hurt it, didn't help it. Incidental was fine. Overall, I'm going to give the movie a four. I'm not going to give it a five because it was so disturbing, and I got to give it a four. Only because it stuck with me. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it is a five because of that. As I sit here and say that, yeah, you know what? I will give it a five. It wasn't my kind of film. It's not a film I even enjoy. I just don't. I don't like movies that make me feel miserable when it's over, and this did. But I had such a strong visceral reaction to it because of how it did what it was supposed to do. And it's almost like they want to put you in her shoes. Not that that could ever happen. I can't even imagine. But that was something, that movie. So Udanath, I think you picked the right one out of the five. If you, because also, I do a disclaimer, and I didn't do it on this one for 90 cinema because I don't like it. I don't like technically, I don't like the sound quality, I don't like the over the top acting. This was not. If I didn't know it was 1994, I wouldn't have known when this movie was made. It could have been made a year ago. That's what it looked like. So you were right on that one. He told me there is some really good 90s cinema that don't do the things that I've already described, and this was one. I just wish it was a little more upbeat, a little more upbeat 90s quality cinema. Maybe you got another one in mind, Udanath, that will do that. But you definitely made your point in that one. Okay. So if you haven't seen it, but just be prepared. It is a tough, tough watch. Okay. Now it's that time once again when I give you John's pick, my recommendation. Okay, now this is going to seem, compared to what I just talked about, this is going to seem like, what the hell? But after watching something like this, you want to watch something upbeat and positive. So, my pick, my recommendation, if you haven't seen it, is the greatest American movie musical ever made. And it is 1952's Singing in the Rain. Directed by Stanley Donlan and Gene Kelly, starring Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds, Sid Charisse, and Gene Hagen. Now, I know that the Indian audiences love their music and films. This film is a joy to watch. One, the film's about the transition from silent film to sound film. So if you're a film connoisseur, you can appreciate that. And they actually do a lot of the stories that they put in this film are based on real situations that actually happened in the transition from silent to sound. But the reason you want to watch this film is the music is wonderful, but the dance performances are just for Gene Kelly is Fred Astaire is elegant, right? Gene Kelly is a physical, athletic dancer, and he's amazing. And he did all the choreography on this. Actually, they're all, I mean, you look at Donald O'Connor and Make 'em Laugh. That's a wonderful song. Debbie Reynolds, who was 19 when she made this film, kept up with those two guys. But I will tell you that, and most people will tell you singing the song "Singing in the Rain," and that is the iconic song from this film, is what I would talk about. But no, there's a number in this called "Moses Supposes," where Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor do this synchronized dance number that every time I watch it, I just sit there and go, why didn't I take tap as a kid? Because I mean, you can see it. It's incredible. It's such a fun number, and they're just so good in it. But look, if you watch Bandit Queen, okay, I know you're going to feel a certain way. So when you're done with that, check out 1952 Singing in the Rain. I do not think you will regret it. Okay, that's it. So again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button, and please share so we can build a Maniac community. Okay? All right, everyone, that's it. We'll talk to you soon on John Talks Indian Cinema with another 10ish minute review or a 10ish minute trailer reaction. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.